Do you require any graphic design work done? A North London agency full of Gooners. Oh, and one lonely Watford fan. We'll be happy to help. Go to www.stonecreativedesign.com and mention Gooner Ramble for a 10% discount on your first project.
Welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me tonight to discuss the recent Man Utd and PSG games are the people's favourite, the one and only Clive. How you doing, sir?
Love the build up. I'm doing fine, thank you.
We've also got the Mr. Passionate, Mr. Positivity. We've got Akhil. How you doing, mate? You right?
Yep, all right. And I'm not surprised, Clive, like that build up.
And also joining us all the way from Germany, we've got Christian Media, one of the German Gunners. How you doing, sir? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm fine, thank you.
Good stuff, good stuff. Chris, just before we move on to the main course of the pod, I just wanted to ask you really about the German Gunners Twitter handle and what you do. I know Akhil says that you run your own podcast and so on and so forth. And I know when I was over in Germany, I know a lot of people kind of came to you guys for directions of hotels, places to eat, drink, so on and so forth. So just a little brief kind of overview of what you guys do.
Yeah, sure. We basically run our own blog for German Arsenal fans. The fan basis is growing each day, and about 5-6 years ago we started to just start it, and we got our own book. It's about 111 reasons to love Arsenal Football Club, and we got a podcast, as Akhil already mentioned, and we also do the directions for away games in Germany, for Dortmund, for Munich, everything from hotels to public transport, places to go out, pubs, restaurants, etc. So people can ask me about it on Twitter or just read our blog about it, and we do match previews, reviews and stuff. So the whole package for the German Arsenal community.
I imagine that the German contingent must be quite a popular topic of discussion on your podcast, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. It's always a lot of questions about the German players, how they are rated in Germany and compared to England, and we discuss that a lot.
Good stuff. And you can also tell us about any kind of rumours about Julian Draxler when you're on it later on in the podcast.
He seems to be available now after Wolfsburg. The manager, Klaus Allofs, today told the situation has changed. He's up for grabs, and maybe we should go in with a cheeky bid in January, maybe.
Who knows?
I'm not sure if he's fit at the moment. He had an injury and slowly coming back. Same old problems with him.
Interesting stuff. All right, coolio. Let's kick on. Clive, Akhil, I'm going to start with you both. Clive, first you up. Give us your cool, calm, collected thoughts on the 1-1 draw at Old Trafford.
Oh, wow, Old Trafford. It seems like a mile away, right? So it was it's underwhelming. Typical Old Trafford underwhelming. Every year we fall for it, didn't we? We all get excited and we all think, this is the one, this is the one, this is the one. And when it gets there, we're like frozen on the first night of some sort of theatre. It's like we just don't seem to be able to go there and turn up. And then before the game, I was talking about having our big players on the pitch and having some personality. And we picked, Ramsey in the team, which I was really pleased to see him on the left, as I've been talking about that. And but it didn't work out as I hoped it would work out. And Alexis dragged his leg into the game with strapping from his neck down to his Achilles. That didn't look very good. And he is the identity of the team this year. And if he's not right, we don't look very good. He started off bright, and as soon as he faded, we faded, and we just became a weak, meek, force that everyone says we are. And people was queuing up to tell us we'd lost our bottle. And, I was really disappointed. I was really disappointed in how we played, especially as Manchester United weren't that good. But when it came towards the end of the game, I just felt, yeah, you know what? They're not that great. Hopefully we'll be able to do something. And we managed to sneak away with a draw, which maybe in previous years we wouldn't. But yeah, I mean, underwhelming is the phrase, underwhelming.
Actually, you were there. Give us your perspective of events there.
I do agree with Clive there, and it was one of those where it was such an opportunity, and I don't know, it's similar to last year, but I think it was just slightly different here. You know, last year we know on paper we should have beaten them, and we as you remember, Giles, bottled it.
Yeah.
But this year it was more. I just thought it was an opportunity to end the November jinx, to end the Old Trafford jinx, to end the Jose Mourinho jinx. It was just an opportunity to end everything, and Alexis was fit. Fit to start. So you thought, well, that's positive. Of course, the sort of the longer term injuries like Santi and things like that were, we couldn't really do much about that. But it just felt that this really was a great opportunity to kind of, win there. And I just think, I came out of it very disappointed. When Olivier Giroud scored in the away end, of course it was. There was that kind of, everyone was getting mental, enjoying the goal, but to be honest, I was still quite disappointed. I was happy we scored, of course I was, but I was actually quite thinking, well, yeah, this is good, but, if we want to win the league and stuff, we really got to win games like this, because I think we could have and we should have, but I was just disappointed with the performance overall, and, I just thought it was a really, mentally, if we could have won there, it could have just been, it could have been absolutely, it could have changed the season, to beat Mourinho, to beat United at Old Trafford. It could have really changed the season. Similar to when we beat Man United in the FA Cup that season. We just thought, this is us, we're going to kind of, we're going to win this cup. We've beaten Man United at Old Trafford. And the same thing could have happened in the league, but it wasn't to be, I'm afraid.
Christian, do you agree with what the guys have said, or do you see it any other way?
I mostly agree. Defensively, I was quite pleased with Koscielny Mustafi at the back, and Jenkinson did quite well. So that was okay. But offensively, I was very disappointed. Especially Ozil didn't show up in yet another big match, as always criticized for, and especially he had the week off during the internationals. Joachim Löw didn't pick him up for the match against Italy and San Marino, so I expected a bit more for him. And otherwise I think we got one shot goal in the second half, and that was Julio header, so that's not enough to win the league. And same old away performance at Old Trafford.
Indeed. Clive, 10 years, we hadn't beaten Man United in the league at Old Trafford. We've also got the Mourinho effect, which both of you and Akhil have alluded to. But for me, it was also a thing about balance. I know we had, you'd been, asking, to try Ramsey on the left, but the two DMs there, plus Lounge on the left, it just didn't really work for me. I thought when I saw the lineup, I thought, okay, he's gone for that lineup. Has he gone for a bit more pace and mobility to match the likes of Herrera and Mata and Pogba and, those guys? But it just didn't really work out like that. And, it was really like we allowed them so much dominant possession, and, the goal came from the back of this sort of it was like a slow pressure cooker kind of build up. And we really were lucky to get out of the withdrawal. But, give us some of your insights as to why we set up and played like that.
Well, the Ramsey on the left thing, let me touch on that first, right? So when I say Ramsey on the left, I was hoping he would play sort of tucked in left, almost forming a 4-3-3. And I was hoping that he would show some real personality out there, the sort of personality he showed versus PSG, funny enough, playing about 10 yards further in, which, I'd love to see it. I'd love to explain that, to be honest. But there's a couple of things that he did. So if I focus on him, and I don't want to focus on individuals too much because I think it's more of a system thing. There's a couple of things he did that makes you really sort of wish we had Santi on the pitch. He had the ball on the edge of the area, or our area. Ball was played to him. He was facing his own goal. He took it on his back foot. They run across his body. A little Clive dummy, and then play the square pass loose. They go in, get the free kick, and nearly score off that. Right. So that's one thing. You think, okay. Then he gets the ball on the left hand side. We're going forward, and he's got a couple of yards of space in front of him. And he's got Valencia in front of him and Monreal going on the overlap. And this was the moment I was thinking that Ramsey on the left would work. I thought he's not going to play the easy option on the overlap. He's going to come inside, he's going to shoot. And he took the easy option. And I thought, wow, what's going on here? We're taking the difficult option on the edge of our own box, and we're taking the easy option on the edge of their own box. And I thought, that's not what I expected. Regardless of where you're playing, he has got a very offensive personality. He takes risks. He takes risks all over the pitch. That's part of his game. And that's what makes some people love him. That's what makes some people hate him, right? So, but I felt he took the wrong options in the wrong areas on the day. So that experiment didn't work. And I don't really understand why, because I think he's got all the attributes to do it. And when I mean Ramsey on the left, I mean Ramsey on the left, Arsenal style, which means we don't really play left. We play like a half left, right, in the half space. That's one thing. We've also lost what I call our build-up confidence, right? So our pass completion rate has come down. It's come down from mid-80s into mid-70s. But our top passer on the day was Mustafi with 80 passes, right? Our top 3 passes on the day was Koscielny, Mustafi, El Neni. And that tells me we've lost the early season Arsenal, right? We're now playing in the wrong areas of the pitch. The early part of the season was defined by the dynamism of Alexis, Iwobi, Theo Walcott, supported by Ozil. Now, all our top contributors are in the middle third and lower third for us, defensive third. And that's not where we want to be, right? Mustafi being our top passer and probably MOM on the day, great. It's great, but centre half having 80 passes, that means we're not building any play. That means we're not building any play in any part of the pitch. We're not taking responsibility. We're not receiving it in tight areas. We're not playing through the thirds. We're not getting it to our daisy men in the right places. So what are they doing? They're thinking, I can't wait, so I'm going to come deeper. And we end up creating one shot on target in the 89th minute. And if you take that onto PSG, I'm not going to get onto that, but there's 2 shots on target in 2 full 90-minute games. I mean, there's something drastically gone wrong there. So we've lost what I call that build-up confidence. We are not taking risks. We're not being brave. We're not passing through the thirds with any intensity. We are very passive offensively. That's with the ball. And let's not talk about without the ball. Without the ball, what we're doing is we're overburdening some players and letting other players get away with it. So we're looking at Coquelin saying, well, you go and do this, you go and do this, you press here, you press there, you press there. Well, everyone else is jogging, apart from Alexis. And we expect him to do all of the ball recoveries. And I'm afraid it's not going to work, right? So like I said, I don't want to focus much on the individuals on the day because there was many that didn't perform. We had to settle in Jenkinson. He was a bit nervous on the day. There were, our forward line was, Theo was a little bit quiet on the day. So it wasn't just about any particular individuals, but, we are going through a period of Arsenal tiredness that we always get, where we lose that freshness. And Arsenal, they're like a Goldilocks team. Everything has to be perfect. It has to be right for it to work. And when it doesn't work, we're not losing like we used to, but we haven't performed well for a number of weeks now.
Axe, just talk us through what was your feeling, the emotion within? Yeah, sorry. What was the feeling, the emotion within the away end when that goal went in? Was it
Well,
overwhelming relief or joy or?
Well, I touched on it earlier. It was celebrated. We were happy. At that time, Jose Mourinho was standing up, so he got a bit of stick. Which obviously now where we are nearly a week on, but I mean the chance, that he's not special anymore was obviously greater than he's not special. He's a which was it was really good actually. The way, there's one man who deserves it. It's probably Jose Mourinho. But I mean, there was celebration. There was we got out of jail here. I think there was the fear if Man United did beat us, 3 more points on us, suddenly they were a lot closer. So, I think people were just felt we got away with it a little bit. But I mean, we didn't play well. And I think, there's been games this season where you've thought, well, we haven't played well, but we've still managed to get something. And I'm thinking about somewhere like PSG where we were battered. They should have been 4-5 up. But they weren't, and then we kind of made them pay, and you thought, well, that was good, it can happen a few times like that against the top teams. But here you just felt, United were the better team probably, but they didn't create enough to kind of score, 2 or 3 goals sort of things. You just felt that if we had even created 1 or 2 more chances, we could have won that game. It could have been one of those where it could have been the reverse. You know how United used to come to us and we used to batter them off the park for 60, 70 minutes, and then they would get one shot and they would score, and then they would probably score another on the counter attack. That could have been us.
I think you're talking about the one where if Jack got injured by that. So was it McNair?
Yeah.
That game was the last one.
Yeah. And the Kieran Gibbs, I think it was deflection off him. But I mean, it was like that. That could have been us. We had 1 shot on target. We scored. So I felt that if I don't know.
If they had made the substitutions earlier, it would have been a different outcome.
Maybe. That certainly. If it's making the subs earlier is one thing, but I think it's going more direct a bit earlier. That was the first time we got a crossing. And that was Olivier Giroud came on, 72nd, 73rd minute. So he was on for about 15. He might have even come on a bit just before, actually. But there was about 15 to 17 minutes where he was on that pitch where we hadn't put a cross in. And then the first time we did, which was quite late, we obviously scored from it. And there's no guarantee it'll work. But you just think, try something different. Man United were making us go out wide a little bit. They were happy for us to go out wide because they knew that Alexis was up front. They knew that from wide we might not be able to hurt them. Certainly with Ramsey wanting to come in, Walcott's not as dangerous out wide. He's more dangerous in that final third with the ball. So it kind of worked for them. But then when Giroud came on, we should have been a bit quicker. I think whether the subs could have been earlier maybe as well. Yeah, but. Yeah, it was real disappointment because I don't think United may have been the better team, but were they brilliant? Absolutely not. It was a relief to get out of there with a point, but I think overall I was very disappointed.
Subs and when they come on is a running theme, isn't it? Really, you could say the same about last night. Wenger could have changed it or should have changed it at 2-1. But he left it, and I don't know. Alex Flynn said at the AST, he repeated at the AST, his debate with Wenger once upon a time when he accused Wenger of, why is he always making the substitution at 70 minutes? And Wenger's answer was, I make them because I know best, or something to that effect. But anyway, going on to last night, I'll start with you. Wenger had said pre-game that he's changed it up. He's brought in 3 different players because, you just can't play every 3-4 days a week. So, rotate a little bit, keep the freshness. Ramsey started in the middle, which people like myself have been, and was obviously had been craving for. He started in the middle with Coquelin. He brought in Giroud up front. Jenkinson obviously started. Gibbs came in on the left. It seemed to be a bit of a freshening up there. But we started the game and we were passive. You were in the ground. Yeah. Did you feel at any time did it feel instructional, or did you feel that the players just didn't know what they were meant to be doing?
I don't know. That's I'm sure Clive will have an opinion on that. I mean, firstly, in terms of the team, I mean, when I saw the Ramsey Coquelin, I First thing I thought about was sort of last season, really, at the end of the season or the sort of latter months of the season when they played together and we just lacked that we weren't fluid. The passing from midfield was often quite slow. It was just, to me, I was never sure about that. I like them both as players, by the way. I just think together, I think if you're going to play alongside Coquelin, you sort of need to be a bit of a passer, which is probably a bit more sort of bizarre why Granit Xhaka wasn't playing. And I think a lot of people have said that, but, potentially that's just because he's given time to settle in. Arsene Wenger says it takes about 6 months for players to adapt. So maybe it's that, I don't know. And maybe, Chris could give us his opinion on Xhaka shortly, but it was in the ground. I'm not sure. I mean, one thing I have noticed from both games is someone like Theo Walcott, and I'm a big fan of Theo Walcott, and obviously he came on late yesterday, so maybe it's not a good example, but certainly on Saturday, that sort of desire to win the ball back, that desire to press, it wasn't quite there, and I don't know if that's. Was it because Carl Jenkinson was playing behind him, so he felt that he doesn't want to completely, be in that final third pressing too much because Carl might need help? Was he thinking, is he just knackered now a little bit after kind of, he came on for England as well? But there was a slight difference there. You don't sense that urgency, that fast starts, and we haven't had that for a few games now. So that is worrying. Whether it's instructions, it's very tough to tell, because, if it was, then Alexis probably didn't get that memo, but maybe that's just the way he plays. I don't know. But, you did have sort of Francis Coquelin quite high up yesterday trying to win the ball. And it wasn't the whole team doing it. I think you're right there. Whether it was intentional, I don't know.
It just looked really disjointed and dysfunctional in that first half. Clive, before I bring you back in, I want to ask Christian. I mean, Christian, there's a lot of talk about, why Xhaka wasn't playing, and I've heard it said today that suggested that this is not the kind of game that he's made for. I mean, he's made for a different kind of game, and the game against Man U wasn't his type of game. This game wasn't his type of. I mean, when he was in Germany, what would you have thought that he would have excelled in these kind of games? I mean, German football is quite fast. It's quite, it's quite intense. There's a lot of hurly-burly. Obviously, there's a lot of technical intensity as well. I mean, was you surprised that he didn't start last night?
I was surprised he didn't start at United, and as well last night. I had it on my team sheet, and was no doubt that he would start. And then we saw the Coquelin Ramsey combination once more, and as Akhil said, it just didn't work. And Xhaka is not a player who needs time to settle in. When he switched from the Swiss league to the Bundesliga, it was he was just straight in, and he was the leader in Gladbach. Nearly from the first minute he started the matches, and he captained them very early in his career. And I don't get it if someone says he's not made for these kind of games, because he dominated these games in midfield for Gladbach for many seasons, and that's exactly what made him that strong, and Gladbach as well. And when they qualified for Champions League football over the last season, so I think he may be just the player we need in midfield at the moment, because with Santi being out injured, it's obvious that we lack some kind of player who links defense and offense in midfield a bit. And as Wenger said, he's not sure when he's coming back. So I don't get it why we don't use Xhaka as the player to get this link between offense and defense. And everyone saying he's not made for these matches hasn't seen him play a lot, I think. And he should really start, and not only in matches against opponents in the EFL Cup, in the cup, which doesn't matter at the end of the season. So we need such a leader. He's a leader on the pitch. I mean, against United and PSG, body language was just not there. And then nobody was pushing the team, towards like a better aggressive approach. And against United and also against PSG, if we would have just upped the tempo and showed a bit more fluidity in our passing, we could have easily scored. And I think we could have won at United if we would have done that a bit earlier and not just only in the last minute with Chamberlain and Giroud connecting. So Xhaka is the player for me that could change that immediately. And I think Wenger should give him a chance and put in the starting 11.
Clive, Chris, and before him, Akhil made some really good salient points about what happened last night. Just from your perspective, I mean, we were talking last night and into today about the lack of enthusiasm to actually close them down. I mean, I said to you, yesterday that there was 20 passes in that build-up before Motta played it down, a slidable pass down to Matuidi to play in that first goal. I mean, there was no pressing at all. We were so passive. We just we gave them the freedom of the pitch, and they were it was slow, quick, and they were dictating the tempo and everything. And it was quite startling to see that from us. I mean, did you think it was instructional? Was it a lack of physicality? Are we underpowered? What do you think it could be?
Yes to all of it, really. I don't know. I'm trying not to overthink this one, but Akhil said something earlier on, actually. He said, we went to Paris and we got battered, right? And we did get battered. We had a 15-minute period and we scored and looked quite dangerous. As soon as we put them under pressure in that game, they didn't look so good, right? So what you hope for when you get them at home is that you learn lessons. And what was our best period of the game? Was when we put them under pressure. As soon as we stood off them, they battered us. They've got a fantastic structure to their team. I love their system. I love their formation. I love the profile of their defenders. They've got a dominant defender in the middle, and they've got Marquinhos, who's very, very quick. They've got fullbacks that are comfortable on the ball, but strong physically in duels. They play a 4-3-3 with three guys in the centre midfield. Verratti is just, he is the new Santi Cazorla. I wish he played for us. They got Motta there, the old dog, doing the Xhaka type role, but allowed to do it. And Chris is absolutely right. Why isn't Xhaka on the pitch? And it's just, they got Kukoviak in the middle, just holding it all together. And what they do is they put Matuidi on the left, and they basically have four centre mids. That means they got strength, they got pace, they got power. When they lose the ball, they switch on psychologically straight away and put us under pressure. And what do? We get the ball, pass it amongst our centre-backs, pass it to our left-back, pass it into our centre-mid, who passes it back, and then we look for our superstars, and they get pressurised straight away, and they get discouraged. Seeing Ozil get discouraged last night was quite disappointing. No connections near him. Giroud not working the size, not working the channels. We picked Giroud. We put Alexis on the right. Surely that was a day for Oxlade-Chamberlain if Walcott wasn't fit. That's the rumours. Oxlade-Chamberlain, what's he got to do to get a start? Don't want to go there. Iwobi, he needed a rest before something bad happened. Well, you know what? It's too late. Something bad has happened, and he looked crushed when he went to the bench. I mean, there is so much wrong. So let's take it back a little bit more, right? We have to ask ourselves a question, right? We really do, because we've seen this film before. We have to ask ourselves the question. When we get to the big games, unless we smash teams early, like the Man Utd and the Chelsea games of the last year or so, we struggle in those games. We can't quite get over the line, right? We draw too many of them. We're not winning them. So we have to change something. We have to maybe look at our opponents. We have to look at our system, look at our squad, look at our energy levels, look who needs support, look what weaknesses are on our pitch at the moment. One of the reasons why he plays Coquelin so much, I tell you what it is. He's the only one that's got any speed. And so he's scared of being exposed, so he picks Coquelin. Well, maybe he's not the best player for that game. Other players are better players, but in the system that we have, we overburden Coquelin to cover the spaces that get left by Ramsey and others. And Ozil, let's call him out, should we? He's not running back or doing any defensive work like he was doing. He's playing like a number 9. We are screaming out for a 4-3-3. Ozil is now not coming deep so much. He's playing higher. He's running beyond Giroud, and that is what Ramsey used to do. And when Ramsey does it, we are totally open to the break. And after PSG scored, we were ripped open twice. And, Akhil, I got to ask you, there was one bit in the game when Ozil on our right-hand side, he got pressure on the ball. He flicked it inside to Ramsey, and Ramsey had 10 yards in front of him, and he just played it backwards. And I tell you what, the crowd went mad. They went mad. And I always look at the Arsenal crowd and think, you are really intelligent. You're understanding the game. You're understanding that we need to play forward. We need to pressurize teams. We need to stress teams. We need to stretch teams. And by being passive on the ball and off the ball, it's just not going to work. And that's what we changed at the start of the season. The team was defined by Alexis and his pressing, and the rest of the team followed. And I'm not talking Liverpool press. I'm talking the Arsenal style press, which is timed, it's thought through, and it's not relentless like some of the Tottenham's press or Liverpool's presses.
It's triggered.
But it's calculated. Yeah, it's triggered. You're absolutely right, G. Better word. It's calculated. And now we've lost that identity. So now we're playing last season's slow Arsenal. So it's up to you guys what we want, right? So we want certain players to play. Well, if we do have that, we're going to see this. And that's the way it is. So what we got to think about, Wenger says don't panic. Well, I'm not saying I'm panicking. I'm looking at a history of games over the past couple of years and thinking, how many of those big games have we dominated? Isn't it time to change how we play? Aren't we too open? Other teams have a platform. Other teams can be impressive off the ball and on it. Why can't we be a little bit more pragmatic? I mean, I would have been happy to see Xhaka play instead of Iwobi yesterday and have exactly the same team in a 4-3-3 system and go that way. I don't mind Giroud playing, but if we do, they have two energetic runners around him that takes away some of the pressing energy away from him, allows him to control the centre of the box and be a target. If we're going to have Ramsey playing and we want him to push forward, we've got to give him two more people next to him to allow him to be himself. We're asking him to build the play from the back. We're asking him to get in the box. We're asking him to play our passes as well. And Coquelin, we're asking him to do all of the tackling for Iwobi and Ozil and do his own job against three very experienced quality midfielders who are supported by Matuidi, who can outrun any of our midfielders. So we're asking ourselves, we are getting away with it. We are getting away with it because that is a quality team with a quality high energy centre forward. He misses the chances, but I tell you what, I love watching Cavani play. Absolutely love it. He works back, he works the sides, he does diagonals across the box, he's there on every single cross. I've never seen Koscielny given so much trouble in a game.
I heard people say, a lot of people say, especially a couple of Gooners that were at the guy and said they've never seen such a good mover.
Oh my God, he's brilliant.
His shooting is something else, but his movement, they say, he's one of the best in the world.
Oh, I would love him. I would love him. I would absolutely love him. And because he just, when you look at a team, you look at their identity by their forwards, and you look at him and you see, wow, and they take their lead from him. When they get the ball, they know he's on the go. And I mean, he scored a good goal. But, when he broke through at the end, he missed a couple. I mean, the header, if it went in, you just got to applaud, haven't you, really? If that goes in, you just applaud it, right? So yeah, we're playing these teams. We're lucky enough to be at the top table. Let's learn from them. We've got the players. We really have got the players. We are not helping them. We're not giving them a system where they can thrive. We're overplaying Alexis till he's going to break. We're blaming Ramsey for not being Roy of the Rovers. And I'm telling you, that can't last. His hamstring will go soon. And we've got Xhaka on the bench, who's perfect for these games. And we're not using him. And then we're actually exposing a 20-year-old kid on the left-hand side who's now had a horrible moment to remember. And I hope he forgets it soon because his career is going to be long at Arsenal. So I am really disappointed in PSG more than Manchester United because I'm used to that. But I'm used to Arsenal in Europe at home doing a bit better than that. And I was disappointed by the fact we haven't learned lessons, but also incredibly impressive PSG. I thought they were excellent. And I've watched the game again today and I enjoyed it. I tell you, they were brilliant to watch.
I'll tell you what, one player who, obviously we all hope Santi Cazorla was fit because of that sort of thing, but if I could pick another player who would be sort of fit and playing, it would be Danny Welbeck. I just think Danny Welbeck on that left side, when Alex Iwobi's now starting to have a little bit of a dip, Danny Welbeck could play there. Danny Welbeck will work his socks off. Danny Welbeck can press. Danny Welbeck can score. Maybe his goal scoring.
He's in my first 11.
Yeah, I mean, and more importantly, if you want to take Alexis out of the firing line, but you want to keep that intensity, Danny Welbeck can potentially do that. Of course, not the same way as Alexis Sanchez can, but he can still do that. And I just think Danny Welbeck is such a big miss.
You know what, Akhil? Christian made a great point about Xhaka, actually, and it sort of slipped my mind. Right, we all know he's a good player, but what he is, he's a reference point. When he's on the pitch, his presence demands attention. Right, he demands the ball. The ball naturally goes through him, and he facilitates. And Danny Welbeck's got a bit of that about him. He's got such a strong presence that when he's on the pitch, things happen down his side. He works, he makes things happen, and players give him the ball because he's available. You can see his boots. And we miss those characters. We can't rely on Theo to sustain that high level of form he sustained at the start of the season. Alexis to do his world tour and still be the shining light. And Ozil's had a 2-week holiday and he's just dropped off slightly again. So straight away, the 3 players that transformed our start of our season have all dropped away to various degrees at the same time. And we're looking around at others and criticising them. Right? So, but really, this is when the manager needs to come in and say, actually, I've got to help this group out. I've got to tweak the system, simplify the game, play in the right areas, and get through this period with the least damage until our fluency and energy comes back.
Christian, I want to bring you back in, mate. Before we discuss any of the German players, they both Clive and Akhil made the point about there were certain points in the game where we stressed them, and towards the end of the first half was the first time we really actually caused anxiety within the French back line. I think it was Giroud that started it by pressing, and then we got close on their fullbacks, and then again at the start of the second half, we came out of a different mentality. Why do you think that wasn't sustainable?
It's very surprising because you could see immediately after we pushed a bit that PSG struggled at the back, and I thought maybe that's the key to get to them and maybe get into the lead, which we actually did, and after that we completely switched off, and I'm not sure what's the reason for that, because against United we also didn't click that way, so there's no logic explanation for that, because before the international break we had such fluidity. We started the games on our front foot and wanted to decide it early and score goals. And then after we returned from international break, it seems to be gone. It's difficult to explain. And even if we get this point in the match where we seem to get it back, we just don't pick it up. And I think it's maybe linked to the kind of in big matches like against United or PSG. Maybe with United it was about this is what was a trip to Old Trafford and maybe the history and the Mourinho stuff. But I don't buy that. But could be a reason. And against PSG, maybe it was down to their just class in midfield, that they could dominate the ball very quickly. After they conceded the second goal, and they were calm on the ball. They had a very good striking Cavani, as we've just been told, and maybe that's the reason, because their opponent was of such good quality that maybe we just couldn't cope with that at that point.
Mustafi, what do you make of his sort of his start to his Arsenal career, and the game he played on the week last night as well?
Oh, I'm very, very pleased with this performance so far. I mean, Koscielny and Mustafi both seem to work very good together. At United, I think they work well. kept them at bay most of the time. And against PSG, they both struggled, to be honest. But the whole team did defensively at times. And so, but overall, with the season, the matches he played very good football. He's not only a good player in the air for Arsenal at the back, but he's also good to push the team forward. Maybe just open up the game, pass it to midfield, and open up the play on the right and the left wing. So I think he's a good addition to Koscielny, and I think if Mertesacker will return in New Year, it's will be very difficult for him to get back in the starting 11, because I can see Wenger switching back to Koscielny and Mertesacker.
Talking about absences, we've got Bellerin who's out for a little while. I'm not sure how long he's out for, but Clive has recently said, suggested moving Mustafi out to the right back slot and bringing in maybe Gabriel to partner Koscielny. You've seen Mustafi over the years. Do you think he could slot into that right back position and sort of like, help us both defensively and offensively? Because he does love to bring the ball out, and he can pick a pass. He's very good with his vertical passes. He's pretty quick. Do you think he'd slot in there and sort of like give us a bit more assurity than, say, Jenkinson?
Yeah, sure he can. We discussed the matter on our podcast as well. What could be the solution to, not get Jenkinson out of starting 11, but maybe get a better quality player in that position. And Mustafi could be one player who could play on the wing. And he played it a lot in the German national team when he was first picked by Löw in I think it was 2014 for the World Cup. Everybody was surprised that he was picked, and he had to fill gaps in different places in defense, and he did it very well, and he matured over the matches in different positions. And obviously his best position is in central defense, but he could play the Bellerin position for some games until he's back. It's only about 4 weeks. It's a lot of matches in 4 weeks, but I think maybe Wenger should try to push him to the wing, and maybe put Gabriel or even Holding. I would prefer Holding next to Koscielny, but that's another point to discuss. But he could definitely play that role.
Clive, you've got a brother now in Christian.
Yeah, he plays fullback, just like a bit like Debussy actually. He plays very similar. He's not super quick, so what he does is he takes everything on the front foot, and he plays that way at centre back, doesn't he? He's a very front foot centre back, and but what he's got quality on the ball, so you can play through him, and we really miss that quality to receive the ball in different angles and then build on that right-hand side. And because of that, we've lost Theo. We've lost him, and we had Alexis running around like an idiot last night, defending the ball, heading the ball in areas where we don't want him, right? So we've lost our build-up on that side, and I think we could get it. I don't really mind if it's Gabriel or Holding, I don't really mind, but I just want more quality on the pitch so we can get back to building through the thirds and creating chances, because 2 shots on target in 2 games is not the Arsenal we are watching in September and October.
Ax, let's talk about what we would like to see going forward. I've got a question here from a friend of the pod, Steve Neighbour, and he said he'd love to see a formation change nearer to the 4-3-1-2 or the 4-3-3 as Clive has opined earlier. Jane was on last week, and she's been very much an advocate of changing it. And I think definitely there's room for change. Clive said that you can have 2 minders next to Ramsey if you want to play Ramsey in there, and I definitely think that our problem with Ramsey is a similar problem to what Man United have with Pogba. Give him the freedom of that left lane or the right lane, have 2 other people next to him, and then let him do his thing. Do you think it's time that we see a slight tweak in the system so that we can get more out of the players that we have available?
You know, we in the 20 years of Arsene Wenger, we haven't often seen changes sort of during a season. I can think of kind of that one when he started playing one up front in the Champions League, and then it obviously led to other things. But
the one at Man City, bringing in Coquelin, playing 4-1-4-1.
Yeah. It wasn't a complete and utter difference, though, was it? It was changing personnel. It was a bit more. It was a change in sort of, in terms of let them keep the ball. Once they come into the half, we'll get them. It was a change of tactics, but was it a change of formation? I'm not completely sure if it was. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because it's, you know, it could go wrong. It could go right. You've got players hopefully who are going to come back in Santi and obviously Hector Bellerin. So to change entire formation, I can't see it really. I can't see it. I think there are solutions kind of in that team, and you know, I mean, we've talked about Granit Xhaka enough, but you know, that potentially is a solution to have a passer back in midfield, to potentially give Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain a game on the left. You know, there's certain things I think we can do that we haven't perhaps done yet. In terms of changing the formation, I just don't know. I know Chelsea kind of have changed their back line from a back four to a back three, and you know, but normally you do stuff like that when you're really not doing well, and you know, I know we're not playing great at the moment, but we've still sort of picked up results. You know, we're 3 points kind of off the top of the league. Chelsea play Tottenham this weekend, so potentially, as long as we do our job and win our game, gap could be very tight again at the top. So it's, you know, I know we kind of look at it, you know, we look at this month and we think we've failed to beat Spurs, we failed to beat Man United, but we haven't, because of that winning run, we haven't lost much ground, you know. So I think it would be considered a bit of a risk. I think, I can't see it. I just think he'll keep doing what he's doing. I think potentially Xhaka could come in on the weekend, something like that. But I can't see a change in natural formation.
It's interesting because Clive said earlier on this evening about if we're going to play with Giroud up front, you know, we need people around him. And I would think that having a 4-3-3 and a 4-3-3 might well help him in that respect. You have two players that can do his legwork, and then he can just be that wall striker in the box, have people getting near him. But Clive,
does that push Ozil wide then?
Yeah, but he does that for Germany anyway. Yeah. He did that in the World Cup. So
yeah, I remember last year on a podcast talking to Adrian Clark, and he was saying how, you know, Ozil was playing very well in the middle. You don't move him. You don't move him. You know, it was, and he was talking about the times he was playing, and he was always saying once you have influential players in the middle, it's to put them wide. You might take something away from their game. You know, I know what you're saying, that, you know, if it's a 4-3-3, he might not have to do the defensive work as much because you have the two in midfield to do that. But, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Clive, before you answer the question, and do answer the question, I want to just I've got another question from @Bobby_Jukon, and he's really pointed to you, Clive. He says, can you chat about proaction versus reaction? So as you respond to Akhil, then move on to Bobby's question.
Well, Akhil's talking sense, right? He's got a history, like me, of 20 years of the manager, maybe changing his formation once. So is he going to do it? Probably not. Should he do it? I absolutely think he should. And all I'm talking about is adding an extra midfielder to this group. Right. So, and your point on Adrian Clark last year, I would not have said this so strongly, but last year's Mesut Ozil was the assist king. He was the one always in that number 10 position, slightly inverted to the right or on the left, doing the crossing into the box, doing all the assists. This Mesut Ozil's running through lines. He's like a false nine. So this 4-3-3 can really work. It can really work because he's not playing like a 10 anymore. He's not playing a Bergkamp 10. You know, he's actually facing the goal. He's running the channels. He's our quickest forward yesterday. He was the only one really pushing them back in any which way or form. So he's changed. He's now more of a goal scoring threat. So get our superstars nearer the goal. We've got 3 people over 100 grand a week. Get them all nearer the goal and let the 3 in behind them provide the platform. And then we can build a play through 3. I mean, it's interesting on the PSG goal yesterday. They had 20 passes, right? And we never got near them because we couldn't commit, because we weren't in position to commit. We didn't have enough people with defensive attributes to get near the ball, to create different angles. I don't look at stats massively, but I look at pass numbers and pass combinations. PSG top pass combination. Well, they had 8 of the top 10 passing combinations, right? 8 of the top 10 for Arsenal at home, right? So, and their top 2 were Verratti to Motta, Motta to Verratti. They were, and our top, ours was Gibbs to Iwobi, and then the rest between our centre backs. That means they are playing in areas in the middle of their midfield, facing forward. We are playing in areas in our last third. We've got to change the emphasis of where we play football. We have to get people connected closer to the opposition goal. And we can't rely on our superstars to run themselves into the ground to provide the extra legwork we need to do to get us up the pitch. And I do think it's just a tweak. So by adding, say, a Xhaka for Iwobi yesterday, and it takes care of itself. And at times, I mean, I got the luck of watching it twice. And at times later in the second half, that's exactly the formation we were playing. We went to 4-3-3, and that's when we had our biggest success. And so I just think, we talk about changing formations, it's a bit of a risk. Chelsea changed at half time versus us. They haven't conceded a goal since. They went to 3 at the back. It's not a risk. It's not a risk. Adding an extra midfielder is actually taking risk away. It's cutting down on the green grass that's available for teams to run in. And we saw bits, as the game went on yesterday, what happened? We had to chase the game. And Ramsey's natural game is to force the game. He's having shots in the box. He's having runs on the back post. And behind him again, there was green grass. And Ozil's not going to cover it. And so the same problems we saw last year are going to reoccur. We've got Bournemouth on the weekend, and I'll tell you, they've got fast forwards. If I was Eddie Howe, I'd be saying, right, you just hang, I want my 2 quickest forwards to hang left and hang right, and we're going to suck them onto us, and we're going to break at speed. With Stanislaus, with King, and with Callum Wilson, and we're going to break at speed, and we're going to go into those wide areas and isolate Mustafi and isolate Koscielny and make them make big fouls. And they can't foul the second time, and we're going to stress them, we're going to stretch them out. It's not going to be easy, right? So we need to make the game more compact. We need to press out the pitch, get people connected, and then we'll get our game back and the emphasis back where it should be. And then we'll start to score the goals and create like we were doing in the early part of the year.
Clive, do you want to respond to that, Akhil, or can I?
Oh, I'm not having a go at Akhil.
No, absolutely not. This is a discussion. It's a discussion.
Yeah. I mean, what? Like, in terms of, for me, it's more what I think will happen, not what I'm not great at tactics, mate.
I agree with him.
You introduced me as the man with the passion, mate. I'm the one in the pub 4 hours before, excited that we're playing. I'm not the analyzer. So Clive has convinced me, to be honest. Let's give it a shot, mate. Try it.
I just think we need to do something, because on that point of the question, what's actually happening now, G, is that because we don't feel connected, we don't feel confident, we're stepping out, we're stepping back, and we're reacting to the opposition. We reacted to Manchester United for so long. We reacted to PSG. Now, I think PSG are a step above Manchester United, right? And I've enjoyed watching them in both games. But you have to take the emphasis away. And I keep talking about it, but it's important you impose your game. But we can't impose our game. What I find with Arsenal, I think we're a little bit superstar dependent. And so if our superstars are not at it, we can look quite average.
Right? Are you talking again about what you talked about last season, that single point of failure?
I just think, when I watch Arsenal now, I think Alexis is our bravest player that says, I'm going to have it with anybody. Right? I don't care who you are. I'm coming for you. But he can only play so much. Right? So, and he's starting to fade. I think we've lost a bit of intensity in our game. Right? So, and it's quite interesting that you often hear me talk about when the ball goes to Alexis, the move starts. But if Alexis is heading the ball away at left back, we're wasting our superstar. That's what happened yesterday. And we criticised Mourinho for playing Rashford as a auxiliary fullback. But you look at the 78th minute last night and who's heading that ball out at the left back position. And it was Alexis. And that's a crying shame, right? So if we're doing that to him, we've got to ask ourselves, have we got the right system? Are we playing in the right areas? Are we controlling the game? Are we stopping them controlling the game in centre midfield? And the answer to me yesterday was no to all of that.
Christian, I want to bring you back in. You've heard Akhil and Clive discuss about formations and systems and whatnot. I mean, we've over the last few weeks we've reverted to slow Arsenal. At the beginning of the season, after the Liverpool defeat, it was fast Arsenal. It was fluid. It was intense. It was brave. It was proactive. It was all these superlatives that you want to use. Do you think tweaking the system will return us to fast Arsenal? And also, do you think that not having to play games every 3 or 4 days now will see us, get our energies back and start to see us play at a bit more fluidity?
I think the slight change of formation could really be the solution to getting back to our form before the international break. I mean, like Clive said, Alexis is the only player who really wants every opponent to fear Arsenal, and that's maybe the reason why Cavani was so praised last night, because he has the same. Like if you look in his eyes and his expressions, he's just a winner, and then we need that mentality. Put Xhaka on, and you got another one of that caliber. And if we maybe could change the formation a bit, we could get back to that winning way. But I'm not sure if Wenger will do it, or will just change something, or maybe a little thing in this formation. I mean, if you look at Klopp and now Tuchel at Dortmund, they're not reacting to the formation of their opponents. They just dictate the match from start to beginning, and they can change if it's necessary. If the opponent switches to a defensive style or more offensive style, they could change quickly, but they still dominate or try to dominate the match throughout. Or another coach is much talked about, I think, in England as well, as it's Nagelsmann. It's a very young coach.
Hoffenheim.
At the moment, he's transforming Hoffenheim in a really, really good way. And maybe that's the youth input at the moment that you should try, or Wenger should try that as well, even if he's that long in the game. And there's always something new to learn. And even if it's from a younger coach, he could adapt to some tactics he sees with their teams. And to the second question, I think if you see teams like Chelsea who are not playing every 3 to 4 days, you definitely see that it's much easier to compete at the weekend and in the big matches. And with the international break in between, it's always very difficult, especially when you get players like Alexis returning on a Thursday night. So maybe if we can just rest some players against Southampton and also in Basel, where I wouldn't feel the strongest 11, then we may get back to that fluidity in our passing and the movement without the ball, and then maybe that's just the thing we need to get back to winning ways.
Indeed. Guys, before we go, I want to ask you who you would play on Sunday. Chiefly, rephrase the question, would you play Alexis on Sunday against Bournemouth, or do you think it's time to give him that rest that Wenger said he was considering? He's been considering now. Start with you, Akhil.
I'm torn on this because when he went down for Chile in that training session, and when we were all nervously panicking, refreshing Twitter and checking everything every 2 minutes, I thought, Alexis, just please try and give us 2 games and then have sort of 9-10 days off, because rest against Bournemouth, you won't play against Southampton anyway, and then come back against West Ham. But, now you kind of see when we're not playing well, to rest one of your best players is tough. I think it's a call for, they got to look at him. I don't think they should ask him because he don't want to play, but they should look at him. I know he's someone we don't want to talk about too much, but Harry Redknapp in the Evening Standard today was saying about, when it's your best player, you have to go by your gut instinct in terms of how they feel, what your medical side's going. Because if he's saying he's fine, then, you just keep playing him. You kind of, you be sensible, but you play him. But I would, if you don't play him and you play Giroud, I think out wide you might have to make a change, and perhaps potentially that might even mean sort of Oxlade-Chamberlain coming, maybe even playing on the right, and because I'm not sure if Walcott had a slight toe injury. I know he came on yesterday, but it might mean other changes. But I mean, I probably, if there's any risk, I would certainly rest him. And Arsene Wenger has said about sort of he does want to give him a bit of a winter break. He obviously Özil had one because he didn't play for Germany. So potentially if Alexis doesn't play on Sunday, then he's kind of got till the following sort of Saturday off pretty much. So yeah, maybe, but I don't know. It's all about how he feels, what fitness is like and stuff. But any risks, and definitely not.
Clive?
Oh yeah, I tell you, there's me saying we're playing him to death. When the game comes, right? We know we need to win it. We know the games I'm looking at over the hill. I'm looking at Everton. I'm looking at Man City. 2 away games. I think they're 4 days apart. And if you think we're winning those games without Alexis, then think again. Right? So we've got to find enough resources in our club to beat Bournemouth at home. And I think we should bite this one and say, look, we gotta maybe take a short-term bit of hit for a long-term gain or medium-term gain. Because if you win those games in mid to late December, that kicks us into Christmas in a very strong position. And then that's when the season really starts. And 3 points after New Year mean a lot more than 3 points before. So I would rest him, but a lot depends on Theo. I don't know, half our squad seems to have broken toes, and I'm not sure who's got a broken toe. But, I've actually been quietly impressed with Theo, actually. I know he's not sparkling like he was earlier in the year, but he's still putting the work in, and he still looks quite impactful, and he still looks like there's a player there. He's not looking meek. And I've been quietly impressed with him, despite the fact he hasn't scored for a little while, and he's been a little bit in and out. But when we see him come on, even last night he come on, he was trying his best, and I could see something there. So I'll be looking forward to getting him back. But he's got lots going on in his life at the moment. We may lose him for a little while. And then it comes back to the injury to Lucas Perez. It was a massive blow.
He's in training, right? He's back in training, isn't he? So
it was a massive blow. I thought it was a blow at the time.
Yep.
He was just getting up to speed.
Yep.
He was getting quicker and quicker and quicker, getting his fitness in, the different intensity from the Spanish league. And then we lost him right at that moment. And he would have shared some minutes with people in this game, and we wouldn't maybe look so laboured up front.
And he kind of does reminisce. He's kind of reminiscent of Alexis, isn't he?
He is. We've overplayed Iwobi. They would have shared that left hand side. Yeah. And now we're looking at that kid. He's sitting on the bench with his head down. And I know Wenger did last night. He does the classic good thing. Don't make a change before a corner. You had that change ready for minutes. The ball didn't go out. We get a corner. You never make a change when you're a coach when there's a corner. But if he makes that change, I bet they don't score. You know what I mean? And it's like,
but going to that goal, I don't think, okay, he was on the post and he should have headed out, but I think Jenks should have dealt with that really. It should never have got to that point, should it?
There's so much wrong last night.
He totally misjudged the flight.
Yeah, he misjudged the flight, exactly, Akhil. He misjudged the flight. So then he reacts, he panics, and he's 2 yards away. And Iwobi sees that situation, and he does what you should never do. He leaves the post. He just does a human thing. You can see something developing, so you walk towards it, right? And as you walk towards it, you actually give yourself less reaction time. And his body shape wasn't right.
Yeah.
And he flicks it in, and you think to yourself, hold on. They've cut a long corner to a guy 5'7", and headed it straight into our goal. I mean, you couldn't write it, right? But we were tiring at that time. We were being pushed around. So that goal was coming. It was a fair result. If anything, if they'd have won the game, if they'd have won the game, you couldn't say much, could you really?
Exactly. Just really, really quickly, Christian, you've seen, Iwobi burst onto the scene last season. He started off really well connecting, being that wide playmaker. He's really struggling at the moment. He came off the field last night, and he had to be, he was consoled by Gabriel, which I thought was a really nice moment, and also Peter Cech as well. Do you think it's time we give him some time out of the limelight, just to sort of like give him that rest period, and just get him away from the spotlight, because the fans do seem to be, getting on his back? What do you think, Chris?
I think he needs to rest, but I think it's not connected to the mistake he made at yesterday's equalizer. Because I think he can cope with it very well. I think he's mature enough to see that situations can happen in top flight football, and against opponents like PSG definitely can happen. But in the end, he played a lot of football. He created a lot on the wing, and was very influential in our good run. So there are phases where you can hold up that high performance at that young age. So Wenger, I think, needs to put him out of the focus, like you said, and to just give him a chance to recreate that magic moment, which you can not create every week at that young age.
Indeed. He's suffered really badly the last few weeks. And, you think about that chance at Tottenham as well, against Tottenham, hasn't helped him very much. Wish him all the best. Quickly, predictions. Clive, what's your prediction for Sunday? Scoreline?
Yeah, 4-0, Alexis hat-trick.
Christian? Christian?
3-1 Arsenal.
Axe?
1-0 Arsenal.
Jeez. Let's get November over and done with then.
Akhil was right, didn't you? It's going to be a traumatic 1-0.
Yeah, but you know what? Even a 1-0, even a traumatic 1-0 will
take it.
Yeah, that would probably up our November points total or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So it's been.
You know what? That whole November thing, just quickly. I mean, we've had some really bad Novembers where we've played teams we should be beating. I mean, in this November we have played PSG, Man United, and Tottenham, which we obviously we won against Ludogorets. Was that November? Wasn't it? First or second? Wasn't it? So it's on points wise, it's not been the best, but we've got Old Trafford out the way, which is a horrible ground for us. We've got that nervous North London derby out the way, at least one of them. So it's, if we beat Bournemouth, it's not the end of the world. It's not, it's not been the best month, but it's not been the worst.
Indeed. All right, guys. Great stuff. Great discussion as always. Christian, I want to thank you very much for coming on. You've been brilliant tonight.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And obviously the regulars, Clive and Akhil. Join us again on the weekend, maybe Sunday, possibly Monday, where the guys review the Arsenal-Bournemouth game. This has been a Gooner Ramble podcast. I've been your host, Giles. Hope you've enjoyed it. Up the Arsenal.
Up the Arsenal.
Do you require any graphic design work done? A North London agency full of Gooners. Oh, and one lonely Watford fan. We'll be happy to help. Go to www.stonecreativedesign.com and mention Gooner Ramble for a 10% discount on your first project.